Hi, welcome to another episode of Living from Desire. I'm Jason.
I'm Melody.
Today we're going to talk about what it means to be full, to feel full, and then the remedy to that, which is digestion. And so being full, just like after you've had a delicious meal at your local Indian restaurant, you feel full after you've snarfed down the naan and the paneer saag, and you can have this sense of fullness. Your stomach can feel full, and then you don't feel hungry. Like you have no desire for more food. And then over the next, say, like 6 hours, your stomach and your small intestines and your large intestines digest that food. Now, you're not going to start feeling desire again until your body then says, oh, I'm actually hungry again, and brings the desire back. So feeling full in that way with food is it's easy to relate to, but there's also a fullness that our emotional and energetic bodies experience. And so when we're going about life, emotions are coming up, are getting triggered in us, as well as energies are coming from our environment and coming into our field, and we're sort of collecting them. And so what we're less familiar with is emotional and energetic fullness. That, it could be when people say I had a hard day at work, what they're saying is I'm full. I'm emotionally and energetically full. Or when people there's always this tendency towards the end of the week, like Thursday, Friday, where people start getting antsy for the weekend, or maybe they want to just like go party and just like climax out, like drink a lot, sex, drugs. That's kind of the 20s, being in your 20s or college type of thing. Is you're actually emotionally and energetically full, and you don't know how to digest. You don't know how to release that energy in ways that are ultimately more sustainable. So we'll talk about fullness in this way of sort of day by day and week by week. I think it's one of the most behind desire. Like when you really truly understand what desire is, and we have a course for that called the Desire Cure. When you truly understand what desire is, at least me, my life changed. And then I can also say that when I truly understood what being full was, my life also changed. And so those are desire and fullness and digestion are kind of to live as a soul on planet Earth are, in my view, within the top 5 sort of energetic principles to understand, to have a life that makes as much sense as it can. So we'll start with that as our jump off point. Anything you want to share from there?
I had one example of like when we say, oh, we need to decompress, that's a sign that we're really full too.
Yeah. Most arguments that people get into, most conflicts that we have, you come home and you fight with family or a friend or partners, and most of the time it's because I'm full. And when I'm full, just like when you're full from food, like you don't want any more food. So if someone passes more food your way, you're like, get it away from me. And it's the same with energetics and emotions. It's like when you're full, if people start trying to pass you more energy or more emotionality, you're going to be like, get the fuck away from me. And that's when we start feeling reactive and then combative and in conflict with other people.
And on a very like basic level, it's when we can't take in any more sensation.
Yeah, we'll say more about that.
It's kind of like, if we're all at whatever capacity levels that we have. And we're receiving all of these sensations all day. So that's energetic, any sort of feeling, emotion. And we're receiving all of this all day. If we don't have a practice of slowing down to digest as we go on, it's like, it's that same concept. We're just eating. Our digestive system's not actually functioning optimally. And then at that last bit where you're just like literally so full, and then let's say you're at like a happy hour or something, and then you just feel like you want to rip the heads off of everyone that you're talking to. And there's a part of you that knows like, well, these people aren't doing anything wrong. They're just talking to you, but you feel this like, I'm going to kill you. That's usually what it is. It's like, you're just so full. We're just so full that we can't take in anything else. And so when we recognize that in ourselves, then it's time to go digest all that we've received.
I love that. And to make it also, to talk about it as sensation, it's that feeling of maybe wanting to seclude myself and like not have stimulation. So sometimes people go through different steps of this. Well, let's say you're an introvert. It could be like that feeling of like, I need to withdraw and disconnect. And sometimes like codependent overwhelm is you're so full, but you can't say no to people and you can't withdraw into your own space. So then you get so full that you get codependent overwhelm, and then you like disconnect from people and it's their fault and you never want to talk to them again. And so it's a symptom of being full and not having sort of proper digestion regimens. But like my partner, she'll come home and she's an introvert, and she's she manages 13 people at work, under her, and then there's all kinds of people her level and above her, and she takes in all that energy. Like I see her at the beginning of the day and then I see her at the end of the day, and she's just holding all this energy and emotion from work, and she flips the TV on as a way to just kind of focus her attention and start coming down into the digestion field. And a lot of people, that's what watching TV is it's something to grab your attention so that you can start sort of digesting, at least incrementally, from where you were, where your mind's just spinning, or you're trying to. Sometimes when we're full, we create conflicts because we feel out of our body because there's so much sensation in it that we'll try to find problems, or we'll have destructive thoughts in order to come down into and release the sensation. And so that's in this soul language, we call that climaxing. It's where we don't have a more deliberate and constructive way to go down into the sensations and release them. So we start climaxing. So some people, they'll just start watching TV to come down. Some people will go to like yoga class or work out. Some people will just sit on a cushion and meditate. Some people drink.
I was gonna just say, in my experience, those are a lot of what you mentioned feel more like attempts at digestion, but aren't actual digestion. Like drinking, you're really actually just adding more. But like checking out, TV is an interesting one, because I actually have a teacher who he actually encourages watching TV after high intensity experiences to help us come down, as a way mostly just to get our minds off of like trying to seek problems and just giving the mind a distraction while the body reconfigures. But I think like I think a lot of it depends on whether or not we're doing it consciously. That determines if we're actually digesting versus checking out.
Yeah, and we could say that in different ways. So, when I feel full, I feel uncomfortable, and I'm seeking to relieve that discomfort. And there's one way of doing it, which is what we're calling digesting, where you're doing or not doing anything in a way that allows your body, like when you're digesting a meal, to just kind of start unfurling and releasing and opening the space again, so that you have desire again for new sensations, new energies, new emotions to come in. That's one way. The other way, with which we're we're kind of like unconsciously pursuing, is we get full and then we're looking for ways to climax it out. So that could be a conflict, that could be like getting wasted, that could be I guess those are probably the two big ways. It could be like sex, literally like sex climax. There's also other ways, like they're kind of on the way to climax. Like I used to, in my 20s, I was drinking and partying every weekend. And so when I'm drinking, in some ways, if I'm drinking by myself and like that alcohol is like loosening up my body, and I'm like, my intention is to connect deeper with my own soul, like the energetics and the emotions and the sensations that are here. Like poison can be medicine, but then medicine can also be poison. So then it's like I can drink, and my intention is to consume more, is like to go out and like find a woman, and then hopefully be able to climax this energy that I'm feeling uncomfortably in my body. Where all the while I'm thinking the solution to this discomfort is that I need to have an orgasm, versus like the solution is that I'm full. Like the problem is that I'm full, and the solution is I need to digest. There's a bunch of ways I can digest. That particular way of like party, sex, drugs, and rock and roll as an intention to climax is not the only solution. And that's when people get into addictive cycles, is because they're full and they get used to sort of like a consumptive and then climax method of trying to release that energy.
And it's like the culture, our culture's addiction to peak experiences and then big drops, and then peak experiences and then big drops. And then especially in this, like in the spiritual personal development kind of world, there is a lot of like just going for that peak experience. Like I'm going to go do this weekend retreat where I have all these cathartic experiences, and oh my god, my life is so great. And then like you have this big drop, because then you come back into your everyday life, and then you're just out there seeking for that next peak.
Shopping's another good one of those, is where that's not mine in particular, but I know people who have like closets full of stuff, because when they feel full, for whatever reason, they're wired to then go like buy things, and then they kind of have like which provides a certain peak, and then sometimes they have the money, sometimes they don't have the money for it, but it's how they start trying to deal with that pain, is through buying things.
Yeah, it feels kind of like if we were to use like the 9-to-5 work cycle as an example, like things are just so the same and repetitive that, because we're humans, I do think humans naturally seek new things and new experiences, that we need something to pop us out of that mundane thing. And in saying all this, I feel that it's also important to say that it's not like necessarily that this is a wrong way, because there's no wrong way, but it's not fulfilling in the long run, because then you're just constantly chasing a high, which is exhausting. And
Well, because the only thing fulfilling, to get back to, is desire. And so it's the 9 to 5, like 9 to 5 is just, you're just saying that's the container. It's like, so I work 5 days a week. I work from the hours of 9 to 5. And then otherwise I can just do whatever I want, is kind of the mentality, right? But within that, where we get that monotony and congestion and unfulfillment is that we're not following our desire in that context. Like, we put the container of 9 to 5 and 5 days a week as more important than our own soul's evolution. So our soul's evolution starts getting congested. And then we start looking for ways to climax that energy, other than the one way that will actually move the energy in a way that's constructive for us, which is through our own practice of our desires. And so that actually brings up another variety of what full can be. Is full is not just the energies and the emotions and the sensations of life coming into us, but it's where we can be full because we're ignoring our own relationship with our practice of desire. And so we can have like a high level of congested desires in our space, and kind of no matter what we do, we never feel relief, because the only relief we feel is if we get on the spot, if we get into relationship with our desire and start fulfilling it and moving in a way that sort of manifests it into our life. Go for it.
So digestion also doesn't necessarily need to be like now I'm going to go digest because I'm full, because there is a practice of consistent, like, am I digesting what I'm receiving as I'm going? And what that looks like in practice is slowing down. And when I say slowing down, that also does not necessarily mean like it looks like you're just like being slow and like standing there and like feeling things, but there's a different quality of when when you're just living your life. Am I actually receiving it, and am I feeling what's happening right now? Am I feeling it, or am I just letting things happen? And then I go home at the end of the day and I'm like, oh, okay, now I have to process everything. So it's kind of like being in process as things are happening versus things happening. Now I go home and I journal and I whatever, but like doing that as
Throughout
it's
the
happening.
day. I love that.
Yeah.
It's like, and we can analogize that to breathing. It's not like like you're like, when you inhale, like we're inhaling life, and then you wait all day to then exhale. It's like you miss so many moments of exhale throughout the day, and that's digestion. And you'll actually notice if you're as you get into the practice of desire, you'll notice when you have desires that are external, so like sort of that inhale or that sort of consume life, like you're eating, and then you'll notice there'll be moments where you're like, all right, I'm good with this conversation, or I'm good with this like activity, and now it's time for like that internal exhale and that internal digestion. And it's happening all the time, all day. It's like your desire will be flipping from more to receive and digest. And it's in that slowing down that you'll see the current of it as it goes. Right now, I feel this desire to digest. We've had a big day today. We've been resurrecting into the village clinic community these videos, and so we did like a breathwork session today. We created a erotic medicine clinic video, and now we're creating this, and I could just feel in myself a place that, even just to acknowledge that and share that, it just feels good to exhale and not like keep piling on, oh, we need to do more things and more things today. Like we've done a lot of things, just even sit and receive that by itself.
Yeah, I think it's like the act of savoring, like savoring your life. If when you savor a meal, your taste, ooh, look at that, there's people. When you're savoring a meal, you're intentionally taking the time to like aerate the food and taste the food and like look for all the notes in your mouth and the temperatures and the sensations, and then you end up being so satisfied with whatever you're eating because you really took it, every little bit of it. And it's like that with life, that when we start really savoring all the aspects of our life, we stop grasping for more because there's no holes that we're like artificially trying to fill.
Yeah, I love that. It also made me think of, sometimes there's a difference between, like, you can be doing things all day and you can just notice that you've gotten full, but nothing like major happened in a sense. But then sometimes, there'll be like just like strong emotion happened and you feel like somebody cut you off in traffic, or at work, like you got in trouble, or you get in an argument with someone. And so there's moments where there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of motion, there's a lot of sensation, and you get full right away, kind of almost immediately, and you're full to the point where you're reacting in that moment, whether you're in the car because someone cut you off, or you're in a conversation and someone's has got an attitude with you, when they're just full. It's like, and they're just reacting to their fullness with you, and then we're automatically in reaction with others. It's like all of that is full, is like we're just full. And to be able to have that acuity to know that and slow down and see all my patterns that I automatically create when I feel full is a skill. It's a major skill as a soul.
And the more that we digest, the more we expand our own capacity. And then when our capacity grows in range, then there's also just more that we can start taking in. So noticing like how quick you get full is also just a good noticing to know where your own capacity is at. There's this like really awesome person on Instagram, some therapist of sorts. And her whole thing is about capacity. If I remember her name, I would say it, but it's great because that actually, like, to me, that feels like the whole thing. It's more about our internal, well, I shouldn't say internal, our capacity in general to actually like be with life and take in life.
Yeah. So here at the Village Soul Clinic, we offer these points of view so that we can better understand the obstacles that we're actually facing as souls on the planet. And through understanding, for example, desire or being full or digestion, life just becomes a lot easier to interact with because you can kind of see things for what they are. And then two, we also offer we also have offerings like the Desire Cure, which is it's kind of the introductory course about desire. And then we also offer kits like the Desire-Based Healing Kit, which has a bunch of practices in there that are really helpful for digestion. So being full and getting aware of being full and digesting. Or like the erotic medicine kit, or I think we call it the women's.
The erotic medicine bag, but I guess we call it women's practice now.
The women's practice. That's a whole. The erotic is the most powerful. I shouldn't say most. It's the most. It's the part of us that is most. It's like the training ground for being with sensation is our erotic body. Our erotic body is that, it covers everything from, at the bottom, like the most devastating grief, to at the top, the most like elevating bliss and pleasure. And then, kind of in the middle, the richest and most potent and most confronting love. It's like the erotic is the full range of feeling as a human being. And so then as the women's practice or the erotic medicine bag, that is the practice of invoking and arousal and erotic energy so that we can get more familiar with our full range of energetic emotional sensation possibilities that are not just endogenous to us, like inside us, but exist in life.
And working with our erotic energy is also a way to help digest.
Absolutely. That's definitely one important frequency of it. And then we also do one-on-one and group things. We're doing these events every week now. And and I'm excited to offer more of this, whether it be like medicine journey type stuff. Right now, I'm sort of in the dating period of running a physical clinic that is a soul clinic, and bringing more aspects of people understanding, for example, their soul blueprint to life, so they can see why they are and why they've made certain decisions and their gifts and predispositions. And so in all, I'm just really excited to keep talking about this stuff because in talking about it and in sharing it here, we're getting to understand how it all fits together better. So with that, I think that is our session for today. Is any final closing thoughts, Melody? We're going to give you the closing thought today.
I was going to say, no, I don't have any closing thought. If I did have a closing thought, I would say experiment with taking just a beat to slow down in your day-to-day and feeling what's happening in the moment, like sporadically through the day. That's a good practice.
Awesome. We will see you for the next Living from Desire next week.
Bye-bye.